Hi everyone! Today I am with Jason, which has a great 5e project and Pathfinder project on Kickstarter. Hello Jason!
Yeah, well, Wayne, I'm glad to talk to him.
Could you tell us more about your project on Kickstarter?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the current project is called Ultimate Fairies, and it's a series of not just one book but several books together. There is a bestiary book of a little over 300 pages of I think 240 or so fae and fairy tale infused creatures, and the companion volume to that is called Fairy Campaigns, which has all kinds of class options, adventures, and all manner of you know rules for integrating the Fae into your campaign in a way that's not just okay. Hey, there's some fairy creatures, but they're pretty much just like any other monsters. But really working in things that make encounters with the Fae strange and weird, and how to integrate that into your campaign. Making your characters making bargains with fairy creatures or having relationships with them that kind of go and grow. And there's sort of staging tips for GMs. As I said, there's spells, there's magic items, there's several complete adventures. With another one, we're close to unlocking as a stretch goal for a third complete adventure. So altogether, this is over 500 pages of 5e content. There's also additional versions of it for Pathfinder First Edition and Second Edition, and there are also add-on items that kind of go together with it, like our Ultimate Kingdoms book, which is about kind of building your own kingdom of mass combat warfare, intrigue, strongholds, ships, armies, all that sort of stuff, which dovetails very well if you are engaging in that sort of stuff in a campaign where you're striking out into the wilderness. You want to kind of hack your own kingdom from the ground up and build in those sorts of intrigues, but perhaps there are fairy creatures that are already there, or if you want to bleed over from the mortal world into the Fey realm. So this campaign has been our at our best successful start so far. We're well over 1,000 backers at the halfway point, and heading on towards the end of November, November 30th, when the campaign ends. But we're looking forward to kind of spreading the word and having more people come on board.
Great! And did you have some additional mechanics, maybe to create characters or.
Oh, sure. There are new kind of character archetypes, excuse me, and some character feats. A lot of them, as I said, new fairy and themed and wilderness themed spells and magical options and things to be able to build your character up, and to tailor them, to what would your character be like if it's got certain kinds of fey bloodlines to it, or if it's had some kind of relationships and blessings from fairy creatures, or binds themselves with oaths to the Fae. So, um, yeah, there's a ton of that kind of stuff in there, and it's a lot of fun dealing with that, and just in as I said, it helps make your campaign just a little different from the ordinary. So there's excuse me, different kind of druid circles, different kinds of bard colleges. Um, before there's a different sorcerer's origins. There's the unicorn charger for a ranger archetype that it's a unicorn that works with them. A hunter ranger archetypes as well, and you know sorcerer's origins to deal with different specific kinds of fae. So if your sorcerer's origin is with a Norn, that might give you more things to deal with destiny and fate, whereas a Nero would be more aquatic things, and a nymph would be more built around their beauty, a dryad more around plants and plant empathy. As there are warlock pacts and pact boons, the pact of the black woods for an otherworldly sort of patron. So we've worked to kind of incorporate a lot of different stuff that really plays with a lot of, as I said, the the tropes of the kind of strangeness. So it's not just again fairy tales where they're basically elves but smaller, but the kind of oddness that you might see in a Guillermo del Toro sort of movie, or that kind of just mysterious stuff about why the Fae sort of change everything they meet. And specifically as some of the from the GM side, mechanics for dealing with Fae bargains. What are the benefits you can get from making a deal with the Fae? What are the costs and all sort of, if you want to get out of the bargain, is there an escape clause? Or from the GM side, also we call it Fae ripples and ruptures, where just the that strange magic of the Fae world kind of leaks into the real world and changes in strange ways. Some of these are pre-created, so they're ready for you at various challenge levels, but it also gives you rules for creating your own.
Okay, okay. I would like to know more about you. How long have
Yeah.
you been playing RPGs and which license did you try?
Well, I started playing in 1981, so I guess that's about 41 and a half years. So I've been playing a while. I started with AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, first edition. I actually went from there back to playing basic D&D. Back in those days, we also played a lot of other games. TSR had a lot of box sets, things like Gamma World for a post-nuclear war future, Top Secret spy game, and later Star Frontiers came out, sort of a sci-fi game. So we sort of play around with different things, and but D&D was all the one I kind of came back to throughout the various editions of it, and that's kind of what I been playing. I always liked DMing more than playing myself. I like playing too, but the creative side of DMing was always appealing to me. And then I kind of got into doing it professionally. I think my first published thing in Dungeon Magazine was back in 2002. So I guess I've been doing this for money for 20 years. And I did things, the articles there. I kind of started ramping it up, doing work on the Pathfinder game when that one came out. I did a lot of stuff for that. When D&D 5e came out, we had by that time I had already gotten my company, Legendary Games, going. We started in 2011. We had a couple of adventures out on launch day back in 2014, and we put out, I don't know, somewhere between 150 and 200 5e products since then. We still do a lot of stuff with Pathfinder, both Pathfinder First Edition and Second Edition. We've done stuff for other games too. 13th Age, Savage World, Starfinder. We've created a few other games along the way, but as far as what I play and what I love, it's kind of been in that you know D&D and D&D and Pathfinder sort of space and zone has been my main love for where I've personally done gaming, and also where the company's gone. Legendary Games, like I said, we started in 2011, so I guess we've been around for 11 years. We probably got somewhere over 800 products out. Maybe I think we're close to 900 by now. And things are going great. This is my full time job since 2014. So it started off as just a little hobby on the side back 20 years ago, and it kind of built up more until finally it seemed like, well, you know what? Maybe it's time to you know set down what I had been doing and make this my full time career. So
Rare. Very impressive. As a long-time DM, would you
yeah,
have a peculiar story or some kind of fail or funny story of one of your games that you could share with the audience?
well, I don't know. Maybe the funniest story was really from might be from playing more so than although there was one time, yeah, a good one. And it was not necessarily a fail on my part, but wait, a place where perhaps I tricked the player a little bit. He had used a suggestion spell to mind control a creature, and he had been following along, following the guy's instructions, and then finally towards the end of it, um, they had kind of gotten to the end of the dungeon, and the creature had been being very compliant, like, all right, have I fulfilled all the things that you had asked me to do? And the guy said, yeah, I guess you have, right? Okay, I said, okay, thank you. And then he immediately attacked the guy, you know, critically hit, shattered his weapon, and just basically totally messed him up. It's like, wait, I thought he was like our friend. Like, no, you just had very temporarily mind controlled him. He was just waiting this whole time until you said he was done. And as soon as he did, he absolutely turned on you. Um, and then again, that same player who GM'd in a campaign that I was playing in, um, took great glee in turning the tables on me later on when I had a character set up to do a lot of spells involving sound and voice. And I had forgotten one time when I was getting ready to bust out a holy word spell or something like that. And at that moment, I had forgotten that I had surrounded myself with this zone of silence area so that beyond a certain range, I couldn't be affected by the enemy stuff. And then, but then my spell also did not affect them. And I said, okay, well, I guess my turn's over. I'm done. Thank you. Um, hey, just you prepare, but you forget that you already did something that totally screwed what I thought I was going to be able to do. So it you get it sometimes as a player, you get it sometimes as a GM, but those moments are fun and funny, and you got to look back, and we still sort of chuckle about stuff like that later on. Or
We always have some message from players that will try to be a DM. Would you have some
mm,
advice for them to make the move and start?
well, I guess the first advice is to play and try different things. So if you're the sort of player who always plays the same kind of character, and I know some folks who are like that, then that's not always as helpful as trying out different kinds of characters, trying out different things in the game. So I think just having some what we might call road time. Like if you're driving a car, you want to drive one kind of car, but if you don't try to drive some other ones along the way, then you might get that's not as wide ranging of an experience. So you want to try out different things, and that'll give you more of a sense of how things work at the table, not just how you might read in a book, but how they actually play out in the campaign. The second is to get the folks together and try it, and try something small first, and get feedback. If you're not quite sure, you know, have people give you feedback on how did that go. But I think also, as you look at it, it's easy to overplan, to throw too much up there, to make this out into something bigger than what it is. I mean, honestly, any kind of playing or DMing is a game of let's sit down and play pretend. And that's all it is. It's a shared storytelling experience. And so don't make it out to be something bigger than it is. The basics of it are having some level of preparation, knowing what you can do, and then going through it. But then as you get used to it, figuring out where are the spots where I can improvise, where can I adjust things on the fly, where can I react more quickly and effectively when the players do something I don't expect. And I think learning to balance preparation versus improvisation is the art of DMing, and that's something you'll learn by doing. But don't get so hung up on just making it like it's some crazy thing. And I think sometimes there's a popularity of a lot of these streaming shows, like the Critical Role. That's the popular one, and some people will see the level of improv that the people do on those kind of shows. Most times, those people are professional actors, and they know how to improvise and you know just bang through all kinds of stuff. So you might say, oh, if I don't have all the stuff ready like I saw on TV or like I saw on the streaming show, my game's no good. That's crazy talk. Don't worry about what some professional person who's got a budget and a studio and a show is doing. Work on what is fun. What do you feel comfortable doing? What are we trying to do, and what are we trying to do together? Try out pieces and have people kind of reflect back on you what they see. So it helps to have some trust with the people around you, but just give it a try. I mean, shoot, as I said, back in the old days, we used to kind of pass around who was running a game quite often. It wasn't so much one person was the all the time GM. Sometimes there was, but a lot of times, we all just take turns. So play in different people's games too, if you can. Get a sense for what people do and see and try. It's it's a lot like almost anything else. You get better by observing, and you get better by trying things and experimenting and seeing what feels right to you, what works right for you. Some people use a lot of note cards. Some people use a lot of um, physical props. Some people get very into backstory. It's there's lots of ways to GM, and the only qualification for it being a success is whether you and the people you're playing with have fun.
Great. Thank you very much, Jason. I will put a link in the description for Ultimate Fairies, your
Okay,
project, live on
sounds
Kickstarter
good.
now. And I hope to see you again.
All right, thanks very much. Yeah, I'll send a tagged link over, and remember the project ends on November 30th. So please come on over and give it a look and hop on board.